Moving on to our last panel discussion for the day, themed XR strategies to build a successful online-offline marketing strategy. Let's welcome our panelists. And like always, let me start by introducing our moderator first. Let me introduce you to Mr. Shyam Sundaran, marketing consultant, followed by the panelist, Mr. SADEQ ABDULRASOOL, Chief Digital Officer, homesimi.me, Mr. RAMIT HARISINGHANI, General Manager, Beta MENA CHALHOUB Group, Mr. Rahul Chandra, Head of Marketing, GCC and Egypt, Stanley Black and Decker Incorporation, Professor MARIAM, RAFEHI, teaching faculty, Northwestern University and Virginia Commonwealth University in Qatar, Mr. SANJEEV Aggarwal, Head Business Excellence, CX and Digital Transformation, PETROMIN Corporation. I now would like to hand this over to Mr. Sundar to start the discussion on XR strategies to build a successful online-offline marketing strategy. The stage is all yours, Mr. Sundar.
Thank you, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, Sean.
Yes, loud and clear.
How are you? How's everyone? Very excited to be on this panel. We're going to have some fun learning from each other. So firstly, I'd like each one of you to quickly introduce yourselves in the sense, just quickly tell us about your company, your role. And I just also want you to add about the state of your multi-channel and omni-channel business across functions. So which means, is your business a multi-channel business? If so, then how much is it omni-channel? Which means how much are all the functions working seamlessly? And then we'll go from first Sanjeev. Sanjeev, if you can start off by quickly telling about yourself, your role, and the state of omni-channel.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sanjeev, and I'm heading the business excellence function in PETROMIN Corporation. So we have various verticals here: automotive, oil, and fuel. So I'm part of automotive vertical, and like in the Saudi Kingdom, we have a wide range of vast spread of our service network. We have 650 service stations, multi-brand. We service all types of cars there. Then we have different types of repair levels, and we also have dealerships for Nissan and Stellantis. So that's about our area and scope of work. Of course, we are present in various channels through app or through website, or we are using the technology heavily. And Saudi anyway is one of the top 10 economics in the world in terms of digitalization, especially post-COVID. It has gained a lot of momentum, especially the lead is taken by government, where all this COVID management, vaccination, health sector has managed digitally. So at PETROMIN also we are taking lead in terms of artificial intelligence and including more and more technology into customer experience, which maybe later on I can cover.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sanjeev. I would like to move on to Ramit. Ramit, if you can, we know you're working in the CHALHOUB group, but just like to know your role, and also has the CHALHOUB group really evolved to being an omni-channel player today?
Sure. So I can introduce myself a little bit. So you already mentioned I'm running a joint venture, which is with the CHALHOUB group, and it's a retail as a service company called Beta. And prior to that, I was working with HTC for more than 11 years, and my most recent job with them was I was a vice president for Middle East and Africa, and for HTC the smartphones, and for Vive. To jump directly a little bit more on, I mean, I'll take a broader approach than just talk about CHALHOUB. Obviously, we are a retail group, so we have multiple brands and there are multiple different strategies. But then if I talk about Beta in specific, because that's the company I'm running, absolutely, it's called completely omni-channel. We've really evolved during the pandemic to not just have e-com, but also have multiple let's say, multiple strategies in terms of having live interviews, having integrated payment platforms, and doing all these different amazingly new things to enhance the customer journey.
That's great. Okay, moving on to SADEQ. SADEQ, quickly about Homis and how omni-channel it is.
Sure, thank you very much. I'm SADEQ ABDULRASOOL. I am the Chief Digital Officer of Homis Platform, Managing Director of Zernal Digital Group for digital solutions. And the fact about talking about the omni channels nowadays, the originality of the word omni, it comes from a Latin, and it means all and everything. And the fact that I'm a bit restrictive about using the omni channel, because that you are having crystal clear from the beginning, no legacy systems, nothing, or you are having an integrative approach or service provider which covers for you everything. I feel that it is more appropriate to use the word multi-channel rather than the word of omni-channel. So yes, we are trying to be an omni-channel right now in different sectors in our company, but we are multi-channel. Yes, that's us.
Very good. Fair enough. Fair enough. Next, Rahul. Rahul, we love your brand, Black & Decker. Can you tell us more about it?
Thanks, Shyam.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rahul, and I work for Stanley Black & Decker. Now, Stanley Black & Decker is the world's largest tools manufacturer, which is also diversified into outdoor and consumer products, Black & Decker being one of the brands for the consumer product portfolio. We are a true omni-channel player, if you may say. We are present across all the different channels, all the platforms, both pure and integrated platforms. The reason why I'm so interested in this conversation today is that although extended reality isn't my talent stack, but I do realize that in order for XR to be considered from being a novel concept to a crucial disruptive technology that is meant for the future of not only retail and e-commerce, but also workplace in general, the specialists and the business generalists like us also need to buy into the idea. So I'm looking forward to a very fun session today.
That's great. Nice, nice. Okay, getting excited here. So we have all the way from Berlin, Mariam, from Berlin University. Mariam, do you work with clients who are multi-channel, omni-channel? What do you have to say on that from your perspective?
Hi, first of all, it's nice to see you all. It's great to be here, and like you said, I consult with clients on XR projects, but so far there were no multi or omni-channel applications at this point. I think it's early in the evolution of this technology.
Fair enough. So thank you everyone. The fact is that we are evolved at different stages of technology and marketing tech as we speak, and we are also in different phases. There is yet to adopt phase, there are early adoption, and then of course there are these clients and brands who are very matured in that cycle. So I'm sure there's a mix of experiences right here in this panel. So let's get cracking on the first question, really, which is that the role of AR and VR. We have been seeing this for, like, personally, I've been watching this space for a long time now, almost 6 or 7 years. And from what has started as a fad is today is a reality. Both AR and VR has played a very important role across sectors. And for me, for sure, in fashion, in beauty, in home, in home furnishing, and even in education, I'm seeing a lot of these technologies benefiting clients. So I wanted to start with you, Ramit. From the CHALHOUB perspective, how much is AR and VR and broadly immersive kind of experiences, how much does it play a role? Just one more question to that is that how much of it is serving top of the funnel and how much of it is serving bottom of the funnel? Are you really being able to convert from top to the bottom? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. And you rightly mentioned that it started off as one of those technologies that everybody would talk about, right? You have this, everybody putting a hashtag of virtual reality and having all these cool experiences. I think we've come a long way. And by the way, I totally believe that metaverse, or so-called metaverse, doesn't belong to one individual or one company. I think it's and you mentioned that everybody is in a different stage of a different sort of an adoption in the digital space, right? So I think this is a very wide area. I mean, if you don't mind, I will not specifically talk about CHALHOUB again, because there's not so many examples that I'm going to talk about from the current business, but then there are quite a few trends and quite a few areas. And I usually like to talk about real examples and real practical use cases, since I'm from the industry. Instead of me harping about VR and headsets and making it super, science fiction, I think let's talk about real stuff, real, what's happening now. And there are a few trends that I wanted to talk about that are very linked with everything that we're trying to achieve. So when you mentioned AR, VR, I think what you're broadly referencing is XR, which is VR, AR, combining it with AI, 5G, and all these cool things, delivering that customer experience, delivering that marketing effort. So to jumping to that trends, I think a few, and considering the theme of the topic is direct to consumer, I love talking about this because this is where most of the brands are heading. Nike being a very favorite example of mine. I mean, I love the vertical integration with the app. And I think if you want to pick and choose a few things from it, so they went digital, but they didn't go marketplace. They decided to focus only on their channel, own the customer journey from scratch, own the data, but more importantly, utilize it for multiple areas, right? Not just in terms of direct marketing, but also in terms of, I like to call it intimate marketing, where you kind of know everything about your customer, how they're working out, where they're going. This helps you retarget them. This helps you to open stores in the future, knowing where they are. And I think direct to consumer is a huge area of focus. Another trend that I see is rise of NFTs, and a lot of big brands are getting into NFTs. D&G, if you've seen, have gone to NFTs. I mean, I can probably take the full hour talking about brands, but you know, I think everybody that's on the panel knows that what's happening with NFT. Now, I think there's a broad utility of it, which I think will come, and I don't want to go super focus on that right now. But using AR and VR by brands and talking about that trend, it won't happen that suddenly you see a lot of brands suddenly installing VR headsets everywhere. Let's be very honest right now. Today, the headsets are very bulky. I mean, I have all of them, but they're very bulky. They're not something that you can mobilize as a direct, like a consumer activity yet. But if you talk about a 3 to 5 years, 7 year, I don't know, nobody knows at this space, horizon, where you're looking at headsets becoming smaller, headsets becoming more, let's say, a part of your extension of your, let's say, product lines that you use, like a smartphone, and smartphone becomes a pretty much a pointing device, in my opinion, in the future. That's the time where you can really use some of these technologies to deliver a direct-to-consumer experience. But if you look at the trends of how this is heading, is really understanding how brands are going digital just beyond the e-commerce side. And this is where I think, if you look at a few examples, I will just name a few examples. If you look at Armani, I think Armani Beauty, to be very specific, worked with Beyond XR, this company, and created a virtual boutique. Today it's virtual boutique. It's on a website. You can go and check it out. But a future application would be why not wear a headset and actually go and interact with it, with actual products and literally pick products and put them in a virtual basket and check out, to make it a consumer, like an actual consumer journey. Gucci Garden is an example of how they partnered with a luxury brand partnered with a gaming platform, to basically deliver that sort of a virtual experience. And then lastly, as a trend, virtual malls, virtual spaces, virtual, real estate. So there's a company called Somnium Space that basically works very closely in creating some of these virtual worlds. Now, to come and sum it all up, if you look at it, direct to consumer, brands going digital, AR, VR in the future, naturally you'll see a lot of brands, especially the luxury space. So I'm in the luxury technology space. It's natural that a part of that experience is going to become hybrid and coincide with some of these technologies in the future. It is an enhancement to the current ecosystem. I'm not of the view that they will replace the stores or they will replace traditional retail or anything. I'm of the view they will add value to it and basically provide that, like you said, for the both funnel, bottom funnel, top funnel, meaningful data, meaningful commerce behind, you know, making it happen.
Sure, very interesting, great examples. I'm moving to Rahul. Rahul, how is it working in your business in the sense, both, is it a part of your strategy, AR and VR? Have you used them? Any examples you can talk from your business?
Yes and no, Shyam. So we are so diversified. I'll give you the focus on the relevance of XR in retail and e-commerce today, and I'll also talk about what it has become for us in the short and the near long-term plan. So our strategies are built around three principles. Number one being the consumer and how the culture is changing with regards to the tech adoption. How the omni-channel partners are currently viewing AR and VR as opportunity or investment, and how we as brand owners are leveraging XR together. So I think all these elements for us define XR in omni-channel. We do experience at this point in time, and let's be honest, a backlash to technology, and a backlash to technology while we were growing up as well. So today, we spend our days sitting in front of a screen, socializing in the virtual world and absorbed in our phones. While growing up, I was told not to go very close to the TV screen, lest it will affect my vision. Now I'm here to endorse a tech where, among other things, I will be endorsing an involvement of screen that will be practically sitting on top of my nose while it gives me motion sickness. It actually does. I quite agree to what Ramit was talking about just a while back. I think the hardware needs to work on itself. And by the way, some people are also visiting digital detox retreats. Major tech brands have started to integrate features that limit spends on devices. So let's take a step back. What we are thinking is people are concerned about technology addiction, its influence on youth, its effect on jobs and social relationships in general. So in case, Shyam, you're confused about my stand, I am a strong proponent of XR in retail and e-com, so is the organization, but only when it is done right. So we are almost on the verge of a post-pandemic world, and I'm being optimistic about it, despite the bumps in the roads. All experienced planners understand that as far as the big picture is concerned, we are near the finishing line, even if the goalposts have moved a couple of times. So in a sense, while crafting a post-pandemic marketing plan, we have kept XR marketing strategies as a very integral part of it. Now talking about the XR strat, if I consider an example and an extension of what we are doing, I was thinking, why not talk about a typical example of the lipstick industry? Now, during the pandemic period, we've managed to see how they have created content that engages as an activity and has solved problem as a tool, because the industry was suffering due to mask mandates and the audience was really missing the product that they could try out in stores. So as an extension of that, we understand that we would have to create two aspects to make it right. One, we have to see if the content that we are creating is right and the people who are consuming it are the right people. Now the consumers are the barriers today because the awareness of XR in retail is so woefully low. More needs to be done to standardize, especially how augmented reality opportunities are shown to the consumers.
Yeah.
Much like how the Wi-Fi symbol is, it is very ubiquitous, right? So without something that spurs awareness, consumers will never know what the rich digital experience will be right. Okay. Now to the retailers, the retailers that we work with, they are barriers as well, because the business case for XR, as you would know, and people in the panel would definitely know, is relatively unknown. Now, AR can help with clothing fits and furniture sizing, but if only 10 or 15% of the consumers try it, the impact is still not good enough for justifying continued investments in it, especially.
Agreed, completely agree. Right? Yeah.
So part of the problem is XR is the new territory where consumer behavior is concerned and how it can actually influence the behavior. And people are talking about ROIs. Now, it's easy to demand ROI measured in terms of sales, but the window through which retailers tend to view all investments will be ignoring a lot of potential that we are looking at in terms of moving the needle with the customers. Now, what we have done is we have moved away from the gimmicky phase of XR and AR, where you are looking at short-lived AR and VR filters that is made to engage and entertain, especially as retailers try to leverage the immense popularity of the AR games. If you visit malls today, you'll see that even today. The initiatives are fun, creative, but it's so desperately trying to force their way around the consumer's digital campfires that it highlights the lack of authenticity behind these efforts, right?
Sure.
So what we are looking at are two things: meet consumer needs, lower decision stress. So if we look at what we have done to drive DIY culture within the region, and Black & Decker being one of the leading DIY brands, we have simulated a typical house, for example, where every little problem in the house, right from the leaks in the kitchen to the washroom to setting up curtain rods or doing your garage, we'll provide you a step-by-step fix with our Black & Decker DIY tools, thus allowing you to almost use it.
Yeah, got it.
To us is the true XR experience with purpose, rather than just trying to make the brand look cool. It's very
sounds good. Sounds good, Rahul. Yeah. Rahul, from a ROI perspective, how are you measuring this?
So the math is very simple to us. So what we are looking at it is, we would need to look at ROI in terms of the brick and mortar stores. Now, it's a given that the brick and mortar stores today are on the decline. E-commerce has taken off. Interestingly enough, they are still less than 20% of the entire retail in the mature markets, and less than 15% of our region. So if you look at consumers are still going to stores. What is that the consumers are wanting to see in retail that they are not getting in e-commerce, that is prompting them to go to stores? It's very clear. Consumers want to see, touch, feel products. Consumers, they do not want the unexpected Amazon box at their doorstep. Not the product that you ordered, not the same color, not the same size, not the same fabric, quality, etc. So what that we're looking at is, park the ROI aside, start off by trying to bring this tangible experience to the omnichannel with the augmented commerce. I think focusing on this one aspect is very important for all brands to get on board, all the omnichannel players to get on board, because this is the future.
That's great. I'm straight going to Mariam. Mariam, AR or VR, where do you think, which technology do you think is adding more value to the businesses you're consulting?
I think in the long term, it'll definitely be AR. And because the AR filters that we currently see on, for example, shopping sites, like for glasses, are just really, there's a really low barrier of adoption, like was just mentioned also. They're easy, they make a lot of sense, right? But the immersive experience is where I believe the long term will be heading, and which will play a role, because immersive experiences, whether in AR or VR, will essentially create that emotional, sort of embodied, tangible digital experience. Yeah, and in terms of businesses, like I've worked with the Park Hyatt, and we created a virtual reality experience for their spa. And the reason it was a virtual reality experience, an immersive experience, was because it was essential to, it was added as a product offering to their spa experience. So this immersion, stepping away from the day-to-day and really being transported somewhere else, became value add-on and differentiated their product from other spas. It's hard to, again, put the business case because they added it as a launch product, so they didn't have any numbers before. But in terms of differentiation, it makes a lot of sense because there was nothing else at the time in the market.
SADEQ, coming to you, where is your business in terms of extended reality, and what have you used anything so far in terms of AR, VR?
Well, I would love to start from where the others they have stopped, and I truly believe and emphasize on what RAMIT he was just said. Everybody is concerned about the technology and digital adoption, while in fact, as Rahul said, Measuring the ROI, it might be a challenge for everyone, even specialists. I'll talk perhaps about the first experience that I had for augmented reality, which was during a company called Oriental Press for printing photo books and albums. What we have created back to that time was like, you have this traditional photo book or album where you can see your memories during any kind of travel. You'll bring your mobile, you will scan any kind of memory, which it will give you like a video that you have embedded within this particle, we call it a marker, or it can take you like for a specific location or something like that. It was a great success back to that time by my measurement, not by the board and management measurement. Okay, you have brought some kind of fancy technology, you are costing us 4 or 5x amount of dollars every month for the sake of the SaaS models that you are using here and there. What will be the benefit? The benefit is I will make you like pioneer in this field and so talking about ROI, in that particular sense of curve, adapting new technology, it's a bit challenging for everyone. In the current system right now, or the current businesses that I'm working into, frankly speaking, there are many technologies nowadays, which it's all becomes under the what we call usually the pervasive computing or pervasive technology. Many different areas. RAMIT mentioned about NFT, about the Metaverse, about many things. Just I will give you one example. One of the major real estate companies, it's a corporate level in GCC, they have published 2 years ago warning people from investing in virtual lands. Don't do it. While recently, just 1 month ago, I have seen them posting vacancies for people specialists in virtual lands. Just imagine. So you never know what will going to happen. Whether shall you go with AR, VR, other technologies, and so. Frankly speaking, we as homies, we have invested a bit only, not much to be honest. We have tried to work with Oculus glasses. So what if we have delivered a virtual experience, something like what eBay have delivered in Australia? I think it was 3-4 years ago, that instead of going and browsing category department-wise and so, what you'll just like flying in the space and you'll try to find things out. It might be luxurious experience, but what is your price to implement? So is how, to which level the customers are convenient. Just imagine, as Rahul just said, can you imagine having this screen in front of your nose for like a couple of hours? I don't think it's comfortable. No. Maybe in the future with the seamless experience within the normal glasses, possible. AR, it is a portable technology. You can find maybe within your own mobile, so it might be more convenient. What we have did is just simply, as we are majorly working within home appliances and electronics, we have tried to implement a small software, which is a mixture of Vuforia, Unity, and Google Measurement API. I'm right now buying air conditioning for my living room. How big it is. Sometimes if you tell me it's 3 foot, 4 foot, sorry, but me and Maria, we are not good in foot and centimeters languages. I want to visualize it. So simply you'll bring a mobile, you'll see how it is, the aircon, the fridge, the chimney, the hood, and so. So at least it will give you some glimpse of what do you expect. Frankly, it is just still under the what we call the R&D prototyping, but literally we are stepping to there. That's our experience.
Yeah, that's great. Sanjeev, what about you from a PETROMIN? Where are you guys on this?
So actually, you know, as an automotive industry, especially, I will divide it into 2-3 areas. So one is like from a Nissan point of view. So previously, when I was in Nissan India, there we use this technology of VR. What I feel is, you know, there are certain areas which requires a lot of capital investment. For example, when you are buying a new car, okay, and you have so many models and colors, and then each variant or each car will have accessories, and you know, for one car you may have 70-80 accessories. Now dealership cannot store all these accessories, so initially they started putting, say, through brochures or then touch screens and all, but we tried VR for that. So if through the VR, you know, customer, wherever he looks at the car, that accessories come at that part of the car. So that way they can visualize it much better. For example, even the seat covers. So if you have 5 types of seat covers, you look at the seat and then you select, you look there, your eye go to that point and then you can see those colors. So that makes it little easier for the customer. So that is the car side. But when it comes to service experience, for us it is service experience is a real offline experience only. So we cannot service virtually the car. So their technology adaptation has to happen in the offline experiences. And how do we use artificial intelligence, and how do we like there's a lot of customer education which has to go, because it's very highly technical areas. So sometimes you cannot put things on the e-commerce where customer can decide which part. So one thing which we have started with artificial intelligence, and the way we are not adapted VR, but I'll give you an example. Like we have a big chain of express services in the Saudi market and also other markets also, but I talk about Saudi market. We have 650 stations, so it's almost like every 2-3 kilometers we are present, right here. So now we don't offer like a appointment system for customer. It's like a fuel station. So like whenever you need a fuel to be filled, you go to any fuel station. Same way for us, if customer need oil change, he just come to PETROMIN. But if you Google our locations, they will find so many locations, right? So what we have implemented is license plate technology. So we have put license plate readers in our stations, service stations, and we use chatbot and license plate reader. That if you as a customer, you put your location on our chatbot, it will send you 3 nearest locations with the availability of the base. So you can see which station is empty or which is full, and you can decide your course. Now we want to expand that more, like where if from the customer education point, if there is some technologies which we can further adapt, like when customer come and you upsell or you tell customer that you want to change these parts, you want to change these parts, customer cannot visualize what is happening inside the car. When you change oil, when you change filters, when you change something. And all the education material today is very simple. So again, customer cannot visualize. So there we can create some virtual reality kind of a scenarios. Where he can feel what is where he's investing into. But I also I want to add one parameter here, because based on as a consumer now. Right. So what I see is 2-3 things, especially when we talk about retail areas. There are 2 scenarios, sometimes you're living in a city where everything is very accessible. Like if you're in Dubai, all the malls, everything is accessible. So the issue like spectacle, if you want to make a spectacle, even if you make very good VR process, it's easy for customer to go to any mall, Dubai mall, and there are 10-20 optic shops, right? It's easy. But if you are outside some remote areas, that experience will help those customers. Even in cities like Dubai, like sometimes making a specs is expensive. So many people do it from India or back home like that. So there are many vendors who started offering these services. So you can try and you can use these spectacles and order online. And it's like a remote marketing.
That's why the topic of this panel discussion is how much are we able to deliver the experience across offline and online channels. So if you look at, we had earlier in the day, we had Lenscut on this event, and I was explaining to you guys yesterday when we caught up, saying that it's an amazing experience. Like it's not just in store, but they have done it almost for 2 years now, that you go online, you see how the frames look on you. It's as close as you can get before purchase, and according to them, they have a 3x increase in conversions. I just checked, and it shows that if technology can be in a way accessible to everyone, like you said, it doesn't have to be in the offline space, it can be in the online space to make it even more convenient for customers. Then you're looking at that actually making a difference when it comes to a brand experience. So that's a great example, and I've seen now. I've been seeing a lot of. I told you, fashion, home, beauty. The beauty segment is way ahead. Today women can see how they are going to look before purchase, and the technology is working very well in that favor. My question now to Ramit and Rahul is that how much, these things are sometimes at the end of the day, when it comes to investments and budgets, it's like must have and good to have kind of situation, all of us face it when we are heading our function. How does one kind of manage that difficult, or I wouldn't call sensitive, but a difficult situation where they always ask, what is that you need this year, and what is the ROI we're going to get from all this investment? And then suddenly XR becomes a good to have, kind of budget. So how do you think one should navigate this problem? Ramit, you can go for it first.
Yeah, I would love to. And if you don't mind, I'll take a little macro approach on this. And
Please.
I think a few of our panelists spoke about a few trends, and I find it very interesting that, and I'm going to try and answer a question about the future looking at the past. And I think the biggest experience, or rather you can read about, is around the evolution of Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and now we're talking about Web 3, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's very interesting, because if you, it's a side note, it's a part of my regret. And if I had a time machine, I would go back in the 90s. And I wish I wasn't 12 years old in the 90s, because that was the time there was a gentleman who started selling books online, and it took him less than 20 years to disrupt a century-old retail offline stores. It took him just 20 years. And then a college kid took him less than 12 years to disrupt media as we know it. And now if you talk, and that was Web 2.0, right? And now you talk about Web 3, I think we are at that juncture. We are privileged to know about all these different technologies, not one versus the other. I think, I think this is a great panel, a lot of esteemed panelists here. This video will become one of those interesting topics that people are going to, read about or hear about, or I don't know what format in the future, because we are at that right juncture. So my question is not to question technology. If someone asked that gentleman in 90s, what's the ROI of selling books online? There was no correct answer. I'm very sorry to say this. I think 1,099 out of 2,000 would have said, no, don't invest in this. So a part of me is in the macro, but obviously we live today. There's obviously ROI. There's you have practical. I'm a business person. So to answer your question more directly, I'm absolutely against introducing technology just for the sake of it. I think this is where you make the biggest mistake of putting in too much tech, making it too heavy, and then you start chasing an endless game of trying to make money and depreciation, all of that. So I think technology needs to be very relevant with times. You're absolutely right in saying some technologies took off very well. Immediate use case was augmented reality. You could use a phone. The phone is a terminal. You already have the terminal in your hand. You're using it, and there's a practical example. In the future, when the headsets become different or the product becomes different, then we need to be ready for that space and future-proof a business to be ready in that space in the future, right? But then the trends that are emerging right now can't be ignored. So Gen Z, or if I think there's a statistic, and I think it was this, that half the population below the age of 16 in the US is on a platform called Roblox. Roblox is a digital platform. When these guys or these people in 10 years' time want to buy product online, trust me, they don't want to hear from us how they want to buy it. They will be dictating it in a different way. So we as a business need to work towards that. I'm talking about consumer business. At the same time, making sure that you're not overly investing in something that is not going to happen tomorrow. So I think the answer to the question is collaboration. I think collaborating in forums like this, getting to know people, getting to understand storytellers. I mean, how do you tell a storyteller VR is not great or there's no ROI? Because a creator, I mean, what you can create in a virtual world and virtual reality is breathtaking. It's outstanding. Nothing exists such thing like that. But at the same time, if you use that to sell cars or things today, it may not be 100% there, So I think it depends industry to industry. We should absolutely have knowledge sharing sessions. keeping a very close eye on what's happening. I attended recently a keynote in the Museum of the Future. And the gentleman, he was talking about HoloLens, Microsoft, how basically this is going to be used in surgeries in the future. I was blown away. I loved it. I looked at it and I said, that's a real example of saving lives. That's a real practical example of doing. So these are the kind of meaningful technologies that I think as a business you should introduce, not just to have a buzzword, not to have a hashtag, but more like a practical use case to your customer and your ecosystem of shareholders or other stakeholders.
Yeah, Rahul, you want to add on to this? The question is, good to have, must have. This is something which we kind of face every day. How does one try and convince the board or the C level or just someone who you're reporting into on how technology is going to benefit the bottom line at the end of the day?
I think Ramit touched upon very, very important points there, and I think I completely agree with him. As an extension, the fine line is the times that we are living in today, Shyam. We are living in times where everybody has to look at their profitability a little more. They have to look at their working capital a little more, and then prioritize where you want to spend. So of the XR programs that we see, clearly augmented reality is the place that we'd like to invest as proponents of it, because we know that there are aggressive tech adopters for this technology. The ability to be able to test a product before owning it, seeing how it looks, how it interacts with your everyday life. I think more than 40–50% of the shoppers are willing to pay an extra amount to experience that before they are purchasing. I don't see shopping or shoppers wanting the opportunity to exchange the product. They want to get done with it. AR eliminates the guesswork for customers and makes shopping experience a better one. Today, pure stats tell you that the average cost of returns for every retailer is around 7 to 8%. That's quite considerable of their total sales. Almost 50% of the customer return is because products did not meet the expectations. Now, if AR eliminates that issue, it tells you it's worth the investment. If you put it that way. And the future, if you look at the pipeline of innovation that comes with it, you're looking at AR integrating seamlessly with the human body. Today, you look at the AR contact lenses, the AR glasses. Now they are supposed to get better by the day. It's easy to reduce this as an offer of dystopian flair, where we are on a slippery slope that starts with Pokemon Go and ends with human beings like us being wired to the virtual world. But there's more to it. Come on. I heard the last session where it beautifully presented the core fact, which talks about turning information into experiences. That not only makes our lives, but also shopping more richer and fulfilling. So definitely focus on investing on augmented reality.
And augmented reality can be the entry point. Am I right, Rahul?
Absolutely. That should be the entry point.
Entry point,
It's something that I feel, but I would want to know more from.
Mariam, anything to add on to this conversation or debate?
In terms of the return on investment on
yes, in the sense, what is the entry point? Like we discussed, what is the entry point for XR? How does one demonstrate value? How does one put together even a kind of a case to the board saying that if we do this, we get this? So how do you think marketers should approach this?
Okay, so to maybe go back to the example of Park Hyatt and their spa, that was actually that was a very well done project, in the sense that they use startup. They use similar to a startup methodology. So they actually, after I spoke to them and I told them that burn victims actually use VR to get treatments that reduces their pain, and if that could be interesting for their spa treatments as well. They ran a quick Facebook campaign with a post just asking 70% less pain with VR doing your hair removal. Would that be interesting? And that way they tracked they really quickly tracked if there was any interest in the consumer market on that. And where essentially found that there wasn't, so it didn't result in any investment. But I thought the strategy was smart.
Okay. SADEQ, anything to add to this?
Well, I'll try to be more of stitching for all the points that I have here so far. Investments nowadays, perhaps getting back for the ROI point, anybody who will invest even $1, he will ask, what is my return? And many different industries still are facing many different challenges, which it will make anyone who is really either a consultant, specialist, expert, to think twice before investing anything into the technology and digital. I remember when we have started in doing certain projects in regards for the AR, many challenges I recall, like the vertex arrays, having item which looks quite poor because it's a low poly. Once you think about going high poly, you think about download speed, or you need to save it within the device itself. Is the device compatible enough, having the powerful GPU or what? All those challenges, you can't resolve it sometimes by yourself. Such as we had a proposal early this year to conduct a virtual fair here in Bahrain across many different retailers. While in order to have it properly done, we needed 5G connection. While in Bahrain right now, it's only like 40% of the area is covered 5G. 4G, it won't help us much. Fiber, you need like fiber broadband, and you need like a router, repeat all the stories. So if you'll see right now, talking about XR in general, whether it was like extended reality or enhanced reality, let's face the reality is technology is good, but once you know how to utilize it. Steve Jobs once said, don't build apps. I will rephrase, don't just grab technology. He said, build features, which for us, let's find values for why do you need such technologies.
Great. Okay, I think we are run out of time. It was really great interacting with all of you. It's what we really need to understand is that technology has to be meaningful. It has to add value to our business. It needs to, I like what I heard just now, it needs to convert information to, to a format where it can be very engaging and kind of very absorbing. So one needs to move in that direction. And today we are actually, we are very fortunate to be in these times where there's an entry point which is quite easily available. We can test and experiment this kind of experience, especially with AR. It's quite easy, it's reachable, it's not too far beyond our budgets. And it's really about, today's everything is about brand experience. So one brand differentiates from another from an experience perspective, and this is where it makes a big difference. So thank you everyone for joining in this panel. It was great knowing you guys and interacting with you, and I hope our audience has also benefited from this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sundar, for
Thank you.
moderating the panel.
Thank you,
you,
Roger.
dear panelists, SADEQ, RAMIT, Rahul, Mariam, and Sanjeev, for sharing your valuable thoughts. We truly appreciate your presence today. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.